Hi, this is Tim, and wanted to take a few minutes and show you how to make Graham's raisin bread. This is a picture of Graham, probably when she was 19 or 20, maybe 1913, 1914. That's Helen Marie and MJ Lavelle. And that's the same picture of them, I don't know, 20 or so years after the fact. So here's the recipe. I hope you can keep up with it. Pretty simple. But you can see it's yeast, butter, warm water, some hot milk, 2 tablespoons of sugar, a tablespoon of salt, 7 to 8 cups of flour, and a cup and a half of raisins. So I'm dissolving the 4.5 teaspoons of active dry yeast and a half a cup of hot water. Hot meaning between 105 and 115 degrees Fahrenheit. Just stirring it up real well. You don't want it too hot, that will kill the yeast. So I'm just trying to aerate it real good, get that yeast moving. I'm gonna let it set for about 15, 20 minutes. I'm gonna let it set till its daggum milk cools off. So it's scalded, which gets it up to 120, 130, or 40 degrees. And you gotta get that down to 110 before you can use it, or it'll kill the yeast. So it finally cooled down. I'm mixing it up with the half a cup of water, and that was 2 cups of milk. So that's 2.5 cups of liquid, all warm. Pouring it back in that cup just because there was some yeast stuck on the side of that cup. Adding some salt, some sugar. That's going to be a cup and a half of raisins I'll add in a little while. In total, you'll use 7 to 8 cups of flour, maybe. You just want to start with about 3 cups. Then you add the raisins. So I'm trying to get that yeast all dissolved in. So this kind of, for me, baking doesn't require real precise measurements because it's different each day because of temperature and humidity. So you just learned for the feel of it. So this is just, like I say, 2 or 3 cups of flour. It's still real liquidy, and that's what you need when you add the raisins. If you wait till the end to add the raisins, which I've done, that's not pleasant. Like I said, that was a cup and a half. Stir, stir, stir. Excuse me. Adding some more flour. Now it's going to start thickening up pretty good. And at some point you're going to just turn it over onto your board and just work it by hand. But it's still got plenty of liquid in it. It's not ready. So this is a heavy bread. It's a breakfast bread. Sweet, rich. I know how to make it because Gran would recruit me when I was young, and she was not. And she had arthritic hands, so she would recruit me to do some of the heavy lifting and the kneading. So I got to learn firsthand from the master. So right now, it's not much to look at. Might look like a bit of a disaster, but that's fine. So I like to just make a reservoir of flour and pull into it as I need it. It just gives me better control. It also lets me coat the whole kitchen in dust. So you can't see it, but Bonnie's at my feet waiting for anything. When I'm cooking, she will not leave the kitchen. She will sit there for hours. So I'm skipping around here a little bit so you can see the dough develop. We're looking at maybe 10 minutes or so to get this where you want it. And really my hands are coming clean, and that's one of the things you want to look for, is for your hands to come clean. It's not perfect, but they're mostly clean. So I'm just picking up little bits of flour at a time until I kind of like the feel of it. So it's a wet, heavy dough, I think. Even when it's done like it is now, it's dry, but it's not. So I'm just trying to get it to a good shape. Kind of get rid of any seams that I can get rid of. And I'm going to put it in this isn't a really tall bowl, but you want more height than width if possible. It's not really the case here, but it works. You just want something with sides on it that will help support the rising that's going to happen. That's my opinion. Put a blanket over it. Put it over somewhere warm. Now, you saw that oven door open. I turned that oven on for about 1 minute just to warm it up a little bit, and I cut the oven off and put the bread in there. An hour and a half later, this is what it looks like. It's beautiful. Great texture. It always reminds me of my grandmother's hands. They were just beautiful and soft, and red nail polish, and I think they were made out of that bread dough. So this is the second kneading. Don't need to do as much. Now you're going to separate it into loaves. So this is 3 pounds, so I'm separating it into 3 1 pound loaves, or trying to with my scale. And I was kind of being an idiot. I just couldn't get it. I was getting 20, 17, 15 ounces. I was trying to get about 16 or 17 ounces per loaf. So my sweatshirt says Top Sail Project. Top Sail is where we like to go when we go to the beach, coast of North Carolina. And they've got this kind of world-renowned turtle rescue center there that we like to visit. I should actually be in Top Sail right now instead of home baking bread. But I am here with you. So I am still fussing around with this stupid bread to get it about the right size. You don't need to do this, just eyeball it. I'm sorry. This is killing me. Oh, what were you thinking? All right, just roll it into a tube, a log. The length is what I'm aiming for to fit whatever size bread pan you're using. Get it to touch each end if possible. It's going to rise. You're not cooking it yet. We're going to let it rise for another hour and a half. So it's going to, come to a full loaf size if you hadn't killed the yeast yet. Which you haven't. If you haven't killed it at this point, you're not going to. All right, so I covered them up again. They're going to rise hour and a half. And that's what they're looking like. They've all risen nicely from where they started. You don't want to let them rise too much. That's kind of a false rising, and some collapse and a lot of error can take place. So anyway, okay, so this is white bread. This is a whole nother batch that I made after the raisin bread. Just wanted to show you, take the temperature for any of the bread that you're making. 200 degrees is what you want that internal temperature to be. I don't trust how it looks on the outside because the pans, they're also different. They do different things. But you can also be good with 200 degrees internal temperature. This wasn't ready, so I popped it back in for a few minutes, and I'm just giving it a minute to register, and it ain't happening. There we go. Now we're done. Got up to 200 degrees. So these are 3 loaves of white bread, a pound each. Raisin bread would look similar to this. This is actually good sandwich bread. This is a whole different recipe. It is red hot right now, and this is the whole reason we do this, is to get that hot bread coated in butter and go upstairs and watch TV in our bed with our bread and butter. That would be mine. And Debbie. See you later. So I just wanted to share a little insight with you about Graham. So this document shows that she arrived in this country on May 4th, 1912. And just to kind of put that in perspective, that means she left Queensland about April 26th, April 27th of 2012. The Titanic sunk on April the 15th. So that's like 11 or 12 days after the Titanic. Graham, who's 19, maybe 17, depending on whose age you believe, gets on this boat alone to cross the Atlantic less than 2 weeks after the Titanic happened. So there was no stopping her. So anyway, make the bread and enjoy it.